Baked Ham Company.
This is the story of the one. As a maintenance engineer at a beverage manufacturing plant, he starts his day knowing every line is ready to run because Grainger delivers the industrial-grade products he needs to keep mixers, conveyors, and packaging equipment moving. With Grainger's vast selection of bearings, belts, and motors, he keeps operations running smoothly, so nothing grinds to a halt. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Hear that? That's Alka-Seltzer, the sound of fast heartburn relief. Because when heartburn hits, you want something that works fast. Quick! Alka-Seltzer. Alka-Seltzer effervescent tablets start neutralizing stomach acid in seconds, so nothing works faster for heartburn relief. Next time when that burning feeling comes on strong, don't wait. Quick! Alka-Seltzer. Try Alka-Seltzer. Use as directed.
Live from Upper Lafayette, this is ESPN 1037 KLWB Carencro Lafayette, KLCJ-FM Oak Grove Lake Charles 1041, a Delta Media station.
This game isn't fun. This game is a war.
It's time for the 2-minute drill.
Hurry it up, hurry it up, hurry it up.
Powered by B1 Bank. Visit b1bank.com to find a location near you.
Come on, let's go, you guys. Get in here, we gotta go fast now.
The Houston Astros bounced back with a 3-2 win last night over the Los Angeles Angels. In his Major League debut, Ethan Pecco gave the Astros 3 2/3 innings on the mound, giving up 2 runs with 3 walks and 4 strikeouts. Game 3 between the Astros and the Angels will be tonight at 7:10 p.m. at Daikin Park, and you can listen to it right here on ESPN 1037 Lafayette and 1041 Lake Charles. Week 2 of the NFL preseason begins tonight with 2 games taking place. At 7 p.m., the Oakland Raiders travel to Houston to take on the Texans. The Raiders are favored by 1.5, and kickoff is at 7 p.m. Then in the late kick, it's an all-California matchup between the visiting San Francisco 49ers and the Los Angeles Chargers. San Francisco is a 1.5-point favorite, and kickoff is at 9 p.m. tonight in L.A. The BMW Championship begins play today from Belle Reve Country Club in St. Louis, Missouri. The tournament is the second leg of the FedEx Cup playoffs, and at the conclusion of the event, the top 30 in the FedEx Cup standings will move on to East Lake Golf Club in Atlanta for the Tour Championship next weekend. Once again, Scotty Scheffler is the betting favorite at plus 310, and he'll tee off at 1:33 Central Time. The Louisiana judge has granted former LSU Tiger Jack Pyburn and 15 other players a temporary restraining order against the NCAA, allowing them to return to school and seek another year of college eligibility. The players' argument is that they're being denied the same opportunity given to future athletes under the NCAA's new eligibility rules. I'm Blake Purser, and you're listening to ESPN 1037 Lafayette and 1041 Lake Charles, your home for the LSU Tigers and the Houston Astros.
The 2-minute drill has been powered by B1 Bank. Visit b1bank.com to find a location near you. Dynamic duos are nothing new to Louisiana sports fans. Breeze and Colston, Burrow and Chase. And here in Acadiana, we have our very own dynamic duo.
You're beautiful.
It's the big, bald, bearded, and beautiful one, Raymond Parch III.
I'm sexy and I know it.
And the man with the best head of hair in sports talk radio in Louisiana and Mississippi, James Meche. Here is RP3 and Meche on ESPN 1037 Lafayette and 1041 Lake Charles, Southwest Louisiana's sports station.
Welcome in to a Thursday edition of RP3 and Meche as you're listening to ESPN 1037 Lafayette and 1041 Lake Charles, Southwest Louisiana sports station, broadcasting live from the Beal and Abear studios here in Upper Lafayette. Beal and Abear, Acadiana's hometown lawyers. Yes, I'm the one actually introducing the show, which that can only mean one thing, and one thing only. Someone is calling me. All right, then. That was cool. Love distractions like that. But yeah, only one thing and one thing only can be meant when I am the one actually introducing the show. That is because Ray's out for the day. Ray, of course, if you've seen it on social media, the cat got a promotion. So shout out to him. Ray, he's got to do some duties as he takes a bigger role in this company. So for the day, it'll just be me by my lonesome hosting the show. Now, with that being the case, that doesn't mean we actually have a lot of stuff going on. In fact, what I did was jam-packed hour number 2 with guests. We're going to only have 2 of them, but one of them is going to come on for multiple segments. As we normally do on a Thursday, we're going to talk Saints and maybe a little bit of Pels. Maybe a little bit. With our guy Les East of Crescent City Sports. We're going to do that at about 12:30 or so. Probably, it usually ends up being at about 12:35 because in the middle of the hour with the 2-minute drill and the commercials, it's about 5 minutes. But, and I mean but, it is August the 20th. We're a couple of weeks away from the regular season of the NFL. So with that being the case, we're going to talk fantasy football. It's about that time. Wait a minute. In a minute. No, I'm not going to do that. Okay. No, we're going to talk fantasy football. Redraft season is here. So I have gotten in contact with a guy that is, he and his partner, they've been able to actually build a pretty big time brand in the fantasy football space. We've had him on the airwaves before. His name is Avery Huffman, and they talk fantasy football predominantly in the dynasty space. If you're a part of a dynasty fantasy football league, they are actually a part of Dynasty Domain, but that doesn't mean that they can also talk redraft. So I've been in contact with our guy, Avery Huffman, and he's down to do not only 1, but 2 segments. So basically this whole second hour going to be filled with guests between Avery coming on for multiple segments, then talking Saints and Pels with our guy Les East of Crescent City Sports. We're also going to unveil our poll question of the day throughout today's edition of the show, which of course has to do with the Saints and the injury bug that just continues, and I mean continues, to just infect this team. It doesn't matter the year. We thought maybe with the intellectual mind that Kellen Moore, maybe he could somehow pull out some voodoo magic and science to prevent injuries from happening, and yet it didn't matter. We were clean. We were clean of injuries going through minicamp and whatnot. But as soon as we hit training camp, as soon as we hit training camp, you can even go back to the first day of Brian Bresee getting injured. Tore his ACL. I mean, you cannot believe this. Then Dylan Radins goes down, and you're like, okay, well, there takes a hit to the offensive line depth, which we know how offensive line depth is, especially with this team. And then you got Jordan Tyson getting injured. That felt inevitable, but that actually happened faster than I would have even wanted to see or anticipated. And then we've got even Alvin Kamara missing at least a month, so he's going to miss 1, maybe the first 2 games, potentially even 3, because they said at least a month. So him coming back before September 18th, so I mean that would be week 2, because the first week is September 13th. September 20th is week 2 when they go play the Ravens. So really, maybe he's there for the home opener versus the Raiders, but who knows? You never know with this type of stuff. But yeah, we're going to talk that. There was a quote-unquote blockbuster trade in the NBA as well, and I throw that in quotation marks if you're watching on the live stream, not only on TV, which there's one right here, but could also be watching it on YouTube, which you should be watching it on YouTube. It's really the easiest access because with our live streams, as soon as we cut that Joan off, boom, there it is archived. You can watch the full show in its entirety right there. There's no waiting for me doing the editing process and putting it on another website where you have to go click on the link to go find it, to find that playlist. Nope, boom, right there. Boom, shakalaka, walla walla bing bang. So we got a lot to talk about. Like I said, 2 guests, poll question, NBA quote-unquote blockbuster trade, even though there's no like real big names in this trade. And how about this? The Astros tied the series against the Angels. The little MVPs, they get taken down 3-2. Tie the series. Game 3 will be tonight, 7:10 first pitch. We'll talk more about it later on. Of course, you can listen to it right here on ESPN 103.7 Lafayette and 104.1 Lake Charles. But for right now, as we always do to start off the show, let's get into today's special.
The fellas can't help with your lunch plans, but they can serve up the top stories of the day in bite-sized pieces. Time to order up today's specials here on RP3 and Meche. Order up.
Look, as many of you know, I'm not as big into the college game as I am the pros. I prefer pros. I think it's the better way to watch football, and really most sports, except women's basketball. I do enjoy watching college women's basketball more than I enjoy watching the WNBA. But with that, and also watching college softball, like it's really not talked about like the pro softball leagues. So it's kind of like a by default in a sense. But I do really enjoy watching college softball when I can. However. And I mean, however, that doesn't mean we didn't get some big-time news in the college front. That, of course, also has to do with the pros. So in case you didn't see this dropped yesterday, and this was all over. This was by ESPN reporters. This was by Bleacher Report reporters. This was by everybody. And of course, it also has to do with Louisiana. So, as it's stated, and this is part of the title, a Louisiana court order is going to give players signed by NFL teams. They weren't necessarily drafted. They were signed as an undrafted free agent. But with that being the case, they now have a shot at deciding my college career may be over, and I may have moved on to the pros and tried to give myself a chance to become a professional football player in the NFL. I have an opportunity to reverse course, go backwards, and go back to college. Which is so backwards. I was going to throw out an expletive, but I decided not to. Did not feel like having to complicate things. Now, of course, with that being the case, you also heard it as part of the 2-minute drill. There are 16 players that have been given access to reverse course and go back to college. As it's put, several athletes, including some who signed contracts with NFL teams, were granted a temporary restraining order from the NCAA by a Louisiana court that would make them eligible to go return to college athletics. Of course, most of these guys are NFL football players. Some of the guys that are stated: former Oregon State running back Anthony Hackinson, who was a part of the Seattle Seahawks organization. Here's a big one. You may remember this name. How about Jack Pyburn? That's right. The edge rusher that played for LSU last year, but also previously was a part of the Florida Gators team. He was on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So he had gone back to his old stomping grounds, but now has been given access to return to college football. Other players include ex-Mississippi State starters Daquan Wright, who was with the Browns, and then Wydett Williams, who was with the Arizona Cardinals. All those guys currently with the NFL and were part of this lawsuit. Now, think about it. We're deep into training camp. We've been at this for weeks now. We've been at it for weeks. We've had multiple weeks of training camp. We've even gotten through the first week of preseason. And if anything, we start week 2 of the preseason tonight, we have the Thursday night slate, we have the Friday night slate, and then the Saturday slate that includes the New Orleans Saints for the second week of the preseason. So we're deep into it. We're about to start NFL football regular season. And even before that, which makes this even crazier, is the fact that college starts even sooner. Like I said, let's go back to the sheet. The New Orleans Saints in the NFL, they start regular season for Sunday, September 13th. So Thursday is a couple of days ahead, back on the 9th, 10th? Can't remember off top. I'm trying to do it too quick. But if we want to look at the college athletics, remember LSU, the LSU Tigers, the Louisiana Raging Cajuns, and others, they start their season 8 days earlier, the week before, on September 5th. But even if you want to go ahead and look at week 0, which is stupid to say, but week 0, the beloved McNeese Cowboys are part of that week 0 slate when they take on Stephen F. Austin next week. So college athletics is already going to start their season sooner than the NFL, but these players that ran out of college eligibility and are currently on NFL rosters, most of them are, they have been given access to decide, hey, maybe I don't have a good chance of making this 53-man roster, and maybe I either don't have a good chance of being on the practice squad, or I don't want to be a part of a team's practice squad, and I want to go back to college. Are you serious? There's just no way that this is happening, but it makes sense, because why would college athletics have any sort of decency or morals? I mean, come on. Why would that be the case? Why would we make any sort of sense in a situation like this? They ran out of eligibility. They have to move on to try and be a pro football player if they want to continue their football career. Whether it's the NFL, the CFL, maybe they go overseas. They have European leagues. They have Asian leagues. I know there's some in like Japan and Korea. Maybe they could go over there. Maybe they could go play in Mexico. Like, there's plenty of other football leagues that are technically quote-unquote pro leagues that aren't the NFL. But yet, we're deciding these guys that ran out of eligibility, they weren't given any special access to have a 5th, 6th, or 7th year to return, can all of a sudden, for no reason, decide, you know what? Maybe I can come back. Like, I thought we were done with this. I thought we were done with these guys getting extra years. We were done with the COVID years, with having these 20th year seniors, it felt like. Like, this is ruining the progression of what we're doing with college athletics. Like, instead of thinking, maybe I could roll with this sophomore that we redshirted. Maybe instead of rolling with them, wait, there's this guy that was supposed to be a pro, but now he's coming back to college? Hey, I could pick him up. Why not? Why not? Hey, can we find another $800,000 or $1 million to get this guy? Yo, can we go get Jack Pyburn real quick? Like, we could use another edge rusher. Those don't hurt. He'll be a 5th-year guy. He's already done this for 4 years. But the thing is, this is so close to the season. So I don't understand. Are you going to pick him up a couple of days before week 1? Are you going to pick him up in the middle of the season? Are you going to do workouts like it's the NFL? Like, what are we doing? Why is this happening all of a sudden now? Why are you waiting till right before the season to make this big of a move and give players a chance that if they're not good enough to make a roster in the NFL, hey, you know what? Let's give you a magical 5th year. Let's give you one more year. Why not? It's all made up anyway. Who cares? It's all about entertainment. This is utterly ridiculous. The fact that I had this come across as a notification yesterday, both on ESPN and on Bleacher Report for my notifications, and I see this asinine breaking news. What do you mean pro athletes can go back to college and reverse course? I mean, we've seen this before. We've seen it a couple times over, but the fact that this continues to happen and they find more ways to do it just makes me not like college athletics. It makes me not want to support it. And it's like, I want to. I think they put out a good product, but the process they go through is just utterly ridiculous. There's no way you think this is the correct way to do things. There's absolutely no way. And the fact that we're going to courts to try and get our way because we're whining and complaining that we can't get it our way. Oh, I'm not good enough to be on a pro roster, so instead of going somewhere else, I'm just going to go back to college. Someone else will pick me up. Just throws the whole ecosystem off. I find it utterly ridiculous that we're still doing this and finding more ways to do so. We're going to go ahead and take a timeout. Rant's over. When we come back, we'll unveil the poll question of the day. Like I said earlier, it's Saints related, has to do with injuries. If you haven't seen yet, I'll unveil it for you coming up next. You're listening to RP3 and Meche.
This is RP3 and Mesh live on ESPN 1037 Lafayette and 1041 Lake Charles, Southwest Louisiana's sports station. Do you need more of the fellas here on Southwest Louisiana's sports station? Of course you do. So go make sure and subscribe to ESPN 1037 Lafayette and 1041 Lake Charles YouTube channel at ESPN_SWLA. Don't forget to turn that bell on so you get notifications for new episodes of Four Tire Change Podcast, where Dawson Iserloh talks all things NASCAR, or Cleats and Sneaks with James Mesh. Get yourself more of Southwest Louisiana's sports station at ESPN_SWLA on YouTube.
When strength matters, go to apfabllp.com. Precision built to last, from heavy-duty aluminum structural welding using TIG, MIG, and stick to custom metal fabrication designed exactly for your project. Need safety inspections, weld analysis, or 24-hour metal repairs? Trust A&P to get the job done. For quality craftsmanship and dependable service, visit apfabllp.com. That's apfabllp.com. A&P Fabrication and Construction. Built strong, built right.
Ready to transform your backyard into the summer paradise you've always dreamed of? With Duplessis Builders custom gunite pool packages, we make it simple to own a stunning, long-lasting, in-ground pool built just for you. Choose from classic designs, all customizable to fit your space, style, and budget. Our pools come with quality finishes, energy-efficient equipment, beautiful lighting, and professional installation from excavation to decking, so you can dive in before the next heat wave hits. Don't just dream it, build it. Visit DuplessisBuilders.net.
Whether it's a tempting text message or a quick glance at your GPS, taking your eyes off the road for just a moment can have serious consequences. This includes turning around or reaching down. Distracted driving includes eating or putting on makeup. Distracted driving is anything that diverts your attention from driving. I'm Lorraine Luquette Vinoy with Service Chevrolet Cadillac, encouraging you to drive smart, drive safe, and keep those eyes on the road, Acadiana. This message is powered by Service Chevrolet Cadillac and this radio station, where safety meets style on the road.
Indeed presents hires you can't afford to get wrong, like a social media manager.
Did you just post our Q4 earnings to your personal social media?
Oh yeah, used the trending audio and everything.
That's confidential financial data.
Relax. It only went a little viral.
The SEC just commented with the eyeball watching emoji.
This is your job for sponsored jobs. This is what happens when you don't sponsor your job on Indeed. Next time, get matched with quality candidates with Indeed sponsored jobs. Visit Indeed.com/hire now and sponsor your job today.
It's summertime, and Aleve is here to keep you on the go. Whether it's planes, trains, or automobiles, Aleve's got your back. With up to 12 hours of back pain relief with just one dose, you'll get to your destination and be ready for your next adventure. So pack your sunscreen, your shades, and your Aleve. No matter where your final stop, Aleve will keep you moving. From sun up to sundown, Aleve's got your back this summer. Feel Aleve. Use as directed for minor aches and pains.
One is known far and wide for his luscious head of hair.
We just wash the hair. You know, I work on my hair a long time.
The other wishes he still had his. Back to more RP3 and Mesh.
We'll unveil the poll question of the day in just a minute because we do have somebody on the ESPN hotline. They want to talk about the subject for today's special anyway, with the court ruling that 16 athletes, including a former LSU Tiger, will be granted access and a restraining order from the NCAA to actually come back to college athletics after becoming pro. We've got Ryan on the hotline. Ryan, what do you want to talk about with your comment?
Yeah, good morning. I just wanted to comment on what you were saying.
Absolutely, go for it.
Yeah, as far as NIL, I agree with that. I always thought the old format was bad when you're losing your name and image to a school. And I always thought athletes should make money off of that, no problem. But I'm just concerned with, as far as athletes and what you were talking about earlier, it's like we're constantly trying to make soft spots from the land, you know? Meaning you get a kid out of high school who commits to the military. That's a commitment. And if back out of that commitment is a repercussion for it. We get athletes who constantly move and there's no repercussions and we're constantly making up rules to make it easy for them. So, I mean, it's basically operating in another world.
Yeah.
And we know life is not like that. There's consequences to your choices. We constantly making this. Every choice they make, well, we're going to make it easy for you because maybe you made a mistake right here. And the world operate like that, you know?
Yeah, and I remember, I'm sure this happened for you also, Ryan, but growing up, if I decided I wanted to play baseball, or if I wanted to play basketball, or if I wanted to play football, or whatever sport, or any activity that I decided to do outside of school, whatever I decided, I had to stick with it until the season or the activity ended. There was no leaving if I felt like maybe it wasn't necessarily the right choice. I had to commit to it. There was no backing out of it. There was, like, I had to have repercussions if I ended up making a mistake in the long term, and I was going to learn from it. It's not the same as it was back then.
Yeah, exactly. And sports has always meant you, to a teammate, choices, stick with things. And everything about college right now is opposite toward that. And it's kind of a joke. The money these guys are getting, what job you ever get money for, and you haven't even performed on that job yet? I'm going to just give you this money up front and hope you perform as good. It's ridiculous, actually, you know, if you think about it.
Yeah, no, I think it's crazy. Ryan, appreciate you for coming on and giving us a comment.
All right, thanks a lot, man.
Yeah, no, there's no commitment. When you look at it, compared to years past, like, you had the 4 years, and really you didn't see a lot of transfers. And I get it. Transferring nowadays is part of the game, and I'm okay with it. But I think to certain extents, people take it too far. And as soon as something doesn't go their way, like I said, they cry about it and are like, where, get me out of this. When you need to take responsibility for the actions. I think if you're not good enough to be in the NFL and you've run out of eligibility, there should be no reason why these players are all of a sudden coming back to college football. If you're not good enough to be in the NFL, go to a different league if you feel that strongly that you want to be a professional athlete, whether it's football, basketball, baseball, softball, lacrosse, anything. If you're not good enough to be a pro, you should not go back to the quote-unquote amateur part and go back to school. You're already done. You're out of eligibility. This is not how this is supposed to work. So the fact that that's just ludicrous to try and come up with a different term. It's absolutely ludicrous. All right. Like I said, I want to move on, and I want to bring up the poll question of the day. Because as we talked about on Facebook and on X, the injuries continue to pile up. With that being the case, which one of these injuries has hurt the Saints the most in your eyes? Is it Alvin Kamara, where he's going to be out for at least a month? Maybe it's Jordan Tyson, where it's actually going to be 2 months. The rookie number 8 overall pick that felt like he was going to have a huge impact on this offense. It was, and from every report and every video that you saw of Jordan Tyson in these training camps and in these joint practices, Tyson was killing it. Like, I obviously gave my 2 cents and gave my disdain and disagreement with the pick on draft night with taking a wide receiver at 8 instead of getting someone like Caleb Downs or like a Reuben Bain. Even though I didn't get my way, I've accepted it. He's the wide receiver 2, and he looked great so far. I loved to see it. But he's going to be out for multiple months. He may not be back till the middle part of the season. He may not be back till either the end of October or early November. Think about that. He may not be back till the middle part of the season. You could also say Brian Bresee, who, like I told you earlier and reminded you, he's out for the year with a torn ACL after tearing it on the first day of training camp. First day. And then we get the news. Yeah, Brian Bresee went down with a knee injury. And then we find out a few hours later, yeah, it's an ACL. He's donezo. Or was it someone else? Because we've got about 5 or 6 injuries at this point. The Sleeper Saints account on Twitter had given us the amount of injuries. And I have to find it, but there's like 7 of them. Because you also have Dylan Radins, you have others. Right now, leading the way is the Rook, Jordan Tyson. He's got 44% of the votes. 35% have gone with Brian Bresee. I think the fact that he's going to be out for the year, pretty understandable. Alvin Kamara, definitely it hurts. But at the same time, if Achane is used to being the main guy in the backfield anyway, so he could easily carry the load, and this also gives a little bit more opportunity for Devin Neal. So maybe Alvin Kamara's injury isn't the worst thing in the world. It just adds salt to the wounds in a sense. But he's got 13% of the votes, and then about 9% of you have said other. Which, like I said, Dylan Radins, I could understand if you wanted to go that direction, but like, he was going to be either the 6th or 7th option on the offensive line, depending on the position that went down. Like, if Fuaga went down, you could throw Radins out there. But if someone like Ruiz or David Edwards goes down, I know that Torricelli Simpkins has been the backup center, but you could throw Simpkins. You could either have gone Radins or you could have thrown Simpkins out there as the guard, depending on how you felt. But it felt very strongly that Radins was going to make the roster. By the way, the other injuries are Quincy Riley. He's got that groin injury. That one felt like it was more of an afterthought because we were so focused on seeing Shuck light up the Cowboys defense, but then also there being 70 billion fights between the teams in that practice a couple days ago. But Quincy Riley's got a groin. We've got Cam Jordan with that hamstring. That's tricky. Like I said, Dylan Radins had the ACL injury just like Brian Bresee, so they're both out for the year. Devin Neal actually also has that hamstring injury, which makes things interesting. Alvin Kamara has the MCL injury, which Dawson related to yesterday, and then Christian Miller injured his shoulder back in the preseason game on Saturday against the Jags. So you start to build it up, but not too many people have gone in that direction. We'll get to more of the comments later on to end off hour number 1, but for right now, we're going to go ahead and take a timeout. When we come back, we'll look towards the Astros game yesterday. We'll talk about this NBA trade that went down and a little bit more. You're listening to RP3 and Mesh.
This is RP3 and Mesh, live on ESPN 103.7 Lafayette and 104.1 Lake Charles, Southwest Louisiana's sports station.
This game isn't fun. This game is a war.
It's time for the 2-minute drill.
Hurry it up, hurry it up, hurry it up.
Powered by B1 Bank. Visit B1Bank.com to find a location near you.
Come on, let's go, you guys. Get in here, we gotta go fast now.
The Houston Astros bounced back with a 3-2 win last night over the Los Angeles Angels. In his Major League debut, Ethan Pecco gave the Astros 3 2/3 innings on the mound, giving up 2 runs with 3 walks and 4 strikeouts. Game 3 between the Astros and the Angels will be tonight at 7:10 p.m. at Daikin Park, and you can listen to it right here on ESPN 103.7 Lafayette and 104.1 Lake Charles. Week 2 of the NFL preseason begins tonight with 2 games taking place. At 7 p.m., the Oakland Raiders travel to Houston to take on the Texans. The Raiders are favored by 1.5, and kickoff is at 7 p.m. Then in the late kick, it's an all-California matchup between the visiting San Francisco 49ers and the Los Angeles Chargers. San Francisco is a 1.5-point favorite, and kickoff is at 9 p.m. tonight in L.A. The BMW Championship begins play today from Belle Reve Country Club in St. Louis, Missouri. The tournament is the second leg of the FedEx Cup playoffs, and at the conclusion of the event, the top 30 in the FedEx Cup standings will move on to East Lake Golf Club in Atlanta for the Tour Championship next weekend. Once again, Scotty Scheffler is the betting favorite at plus 310, and he'll tee off at 1:33 Central Time. The Louisiana judge has granted former LSU Tiger Jack Pyburn and 15 other players a temporary restraining order against the NCAA, allowing them to return to school and seek another year of college eligibility. The players' argument is that they're being denied the same opportunity given to future athletes under the NCAA's new eligibility rules. I'm Blake Purser, and you're listening to ESPN 103.7 Lafayette and 104.1 Lake Charles, your home for the LSU Tigers and the Houston Astros.
The 2-minute drill has been powered by B1 Bank. Visit b1bank.com to find a location near you. ESPN 103.7 Lafayette and 104.1 Lake Charles is the proud winner of 4 2026 LAB Prestige Awards, including Best Use of Digital Media, Foot's Friday Fury, Best Live On-Site Remote for our Super Bowl Radio Road coverage, Best Promotion for our No Shave November initiative, and Radio Young Professional of the Year for Dawson Iserloh. We're proud of being Southwest Louisiana's sports station and are humbled to be recognized by the Louisiana Association of Broadcasters.
Imagine a place where wellness, luxury, and community come together. Welcome to City Club at River Ranch, Acadiana's premier private club. Enjoy a state-of-the-art fitness center, exceptional tennis and pickleball programs, resort-style amenities, and a vibrant social atmosphere. Whether you're pursuing your fitness goals or expanding your social circle, City Club offers an unmatched member experience. Visit cityclubatriverranch.com today. City Club at River Ranch, where lifestyle meets distinction.
Do you love to golf? Well, then it's time to make September your month at Farm D Alley Golf Club. For just $550, enjoy unlimited weekday golf all month long. That's every Tuesday through Thursday with card included. No extra fees. Just great golf on one of Acadia's premier courses. Whether you're sharpening your game or simply enjoying the outdoors, the September weekday pass is an incredible value. Don't miss out. Call Farm D Alley Golf Club today or stop by the Pro Shop. Farm D Alley Golf Club. Play more, save more, all September long.
This is your Chiropractic Expert Minute, brought to you by Dr. Quentin Briscoe, D.C., chiropractic physician.
Injured in a car accident? Confused about what to do next? At Briscoe Chiropractic, we have been treating auto accident injuries for almost 2 decades. We focus on the diagnosing and treatment of injuries related to motor vehicle accidents, providing comprehensive care while documenting your injuries. Even minor accidents can cause injuries that may not show up right away. Ignoring these injuries could lead to chronic pain and long-term issues. At Briscoe Chiropractic, we focus on treating accident-related injuries. Our chiropractic care focuses on realigning your spine and reducing pain and helping your body heal naturally. Don't wait until the pain worsens. Early treatment is key to a full recovery.
To schedule an appointment with Briscoe Chiropractic, visit drqmb.com or call 337-534-0091. That's drqmb.com or 337-534-0091. Briscoe Chiropractic, where recovery is no accident.
Your Honor, I would like to introduce exhibit number 1.
MeTV is America's #1 classic television network.
There can only be one #1, me.
MeTV features over 60 of the greatest classic TV series each week.
Go with the winner.
Enjoy dramas, comedies, westerns, sci-fi, and more.
You just watch me.
Watch MeTV Acadiana on KLWB, over the air on channel 50.1. Check your local cable listings for the channel in your area.
MeTV is memorable entertainment television.
You're listening to ESPN 103.7 Lafayette and 104.1 Lake Charles. Your home for the best local sports talk in Southwest Louisiana.
Before we talk about the Astros, do want to remind you that with storm season being in full swing, ESPN 103.7 Lafayette and 104.1 Lake Charles, Southwest Louisiana Sports Station, and Mid-South Power Solutions in Crowley bring you these hurricane safety tips. Make sure to secure your home and bring in outdoor items before the storm makes landfall. Have an emergency kit stocked with water, food, and medications. Know your evacuation routes and listen to local authorities. Stay informed with a battery-powered radio and make sure you have fresh batteries. Remember, safety is in your hands. These hurricane preparedness tips are powered by Mid-South Power Solutions in Crowley, your local Generac dealer. Visit midsouthpowersolutions.com. Like we were talking about earlier, and as you've probably heard in the 2-minute drill, the Houston Astros won last night against the Los Angeles Angels. That's right, the little MVPs, as our guy Kevin Foote would say. They beat them 3-2, which tied the series and has now improved the Astros' record to 64-63, which still keeps them ahead in the standings and now gives them a full 2-game lead over those Texas Rangers who lost last night. Of course, Texas is 62-65. Seattle, even though they won last night, remember, you can go back to that historic 22-0 loss against the Brew Crew. That was awesome to see. That was crazy. So, a little bit of a tangent here. When I saw that, I remember looking at the scoreboards for the MLB, and I noticed 11-0 in the 6th inning for Milwaukee. And I thought, wow, that's a really dominant win. They're probably not going to score any more runs, but like 11-0, even if they give up, like, let's say 3 runs. Like, still, an 11-3 win over the Mariners. Obviously, it's still really good because if you look at the Brew Crew's record, they're still chilling. They're 78-49 now, but they were 78-47 in that game. But still, getting to that, or 77-48. But getting to that 78th win, I mean, they're absolutely killing it right now. They're one of the many teams that has an above 500 record, but no one has more wins than them anyway. So you already thought still an impressive 11 whatever win. You got 3 innings to go. Surely they maybe score 1 or 2 more runs, but that's it. Like, who knows? But the fact that they doubled their score, threw up a 9 spot in the 8th inning, and eventually won 22-0. And when I got the notification that talked about the win, I was so shocked about it because they said it tied for the largest margin of victory in a shutout win since 1888. I can already make jokes. I was born in 2000, but I like to make jokes of like anything that starts with a 19 in the year that it was made or happened, it's old. I always like to make that joke. If your birth date starts with a 19-year-old, but the fact that this one starts with an 18, it's not 1988, or it's not even 1940, or even if you really want to go to the early days of saying like 1920 or something. No. 1888. 20-something years after the Civil War finished and the slaves were released. Like, before we got to the 20th century. Are you kidding me? That was wild. I was baffled. I was perplexed when I read that. That was crazy to see. But nevertheless, going back to the Astros, like I said, won 3-2. A big part of it was actually looking at a pitching performance and a debut from Ethan Pecco. He made his major league debut. He didn't go very long, but that's kind of to be expected in a sense. He only went 3 2/3, but in that time, he gave up 3 hits, gave up both of the earned runs that the Angels got in that 4th inning before he got taken out for Sousa. Sousa actually ended up getting the win when he went 1 1/3 inning, when he only gave up the 1 hit and struck out 1. But Pecco, he went 89 pitches. 49 of them were strikeouts, and he punched out 4 guys. It's like not bad. I mean, of course, in a debut performance, like, you'll take it, especially if it ultimately leads to a win. You're not mad at it. Now, another part of it, of this, you could look at the stats and you could say, okay, well, Jose drove in a run. Jordan scored. Same thing with Isak. And then also Cam Smith eventually picked up an RBI at 2 at-bats on a sack. And then Vasquez put up a bunch of ones everywhere with a run, an RBI, and a hit, and a home run. And also drew with that, he had another solo shot. That was Vasquez. He hit the solo shot, but then also drew a walk in 2 total at-bats. You can look at the stats and say this wasn't bad. Sousa picks up his first win of the season. Hader, of course, picks up his 18th save. Not picking up any stats. Didn't have a strikeout, but didn't give up a hit in that last inning. But really the big thing that stood out about the game was the fact that Jeremy Pena ended up getting injured. A 100-mile-an-hour fastball hit his hand, which I've never been hit by a 100-mile-an-hour fastball, but I've had rogue baseballs in practice hit me before, and even when it goes like 50 miles an hour or whatever it was, it still doesn't feel good. So I can only imagine right on the hands, right on the bones. Like, I know he has a little bit of a protection on the gloves, but it ain't really stopping much, especially when it's a 100-mile-an-hour meatball. And it wasn't a meatball down the middle, but I mean, it hit him, boom, on the hand. That hurts. Now, we'll see how long it takes for him to actually come back, but it's still something to monitor, which kind of just goes to the Houston Astros. He's going to get x-rays. They were negative, but we'll see how long this holds him out for. I mean, who knows? With the Astros and their injury history, he could eventually go on the 60-day IL, and we may not see him for the rest of the year. Like, honestly, would that really surprise you as an Astros fan with the amount of injuries that we've seen over these years? And we could definitely include this season, but the amount of injuries to this squad. And Pena even getting injured earlier in the season. Would it really surprise you if all of a sudden you think, oh, like, hit him in the hand, definitely hurt, but didn't break, nothing's broken, but all of a sudden maybe there's some soreness, and instead of being back in a couple days, he gets put on any length of time IL and ends up having to wait longer than you anticipated? Would it really surprise? Like, I don't want to sound negative. I don't want to sound doom and gloom. But it's like, I can't help but think that way with the amount of times that we've seen Astros players go down and get injured, be put on the IL, and miss even longer than we were told and anticipated. And then eventually when they come back, for whatever reason, whether they come back maybe sooner than we anticipated, which sounds weird to say, but eventually comes back, but sooner than they're supposed to, or they're just not right mentally, they're just not the same player until the next season. Like, I hate to say it, but I'm definitely holding my breath on seeing where this Jeremy Pena goes. It shouldn't be a big-time injury, but boy, it would not surprise me if all of a sudden we get a further update on Pena's injury, and it's like, actually, it's worse than we thought. He's going on the IL. It's like, all right. But enough about that. Like I said, Astros get the win. They'll play Game 3 tonight. They'll play the rubber match. They'll play at 7:10 tonight, first pitch. You can listen to the action right here on ESPN, Southwest Louisiana Sports Station. Of course, the game is going to be played at Dyken Park. I do want to move over real quick, though, to this trade that I saw go down last night. And when it went across my screen as a notification, it said blockbuster trade. And this is for the NBA. I see blockbuster trade. I think, what's that for? Who's getting traded? And I see as a part of the headline, and normally they throw like the biggest name out there to really grab your attention, as you should. You want to make note of the biggest player. And they normally get put in the title or a part of the headline. The player that was a part of the headline is a guy that I have given my disdain for on this radio station over these airwaves for years. And no, it's not LeBron James. It's Max Strus. Max Strus, a role player who is predominantly known as a 3-and-D guy and not much else. He is the headliner for a quote-unquote blockbuster trade. Are you kidding me? What are we talking about? Now, I think the reason that they are calling it a quote-unquote blockbuster trade is not because of the name value or necessarily the picks involved, but rather the amount of teams in this trade. We, of course, know about 2-team trades, and we've seen plenty of 3-team trades. But let me tell you this. This trade does not include just 2 teams. It doesn't include just 3 teams. It doesn't include just 4 teams. It includes, wait for it, sorry, Jaden Daniels, it includes 5 teams. What? Let's go through these details. So the Cleveland Cavaliers giving away some guys, including the great Max Strus, as I say, with just a smile on my face and utter sarcasm. The Cavaliers, they're going to get Peyton Watson from the Nuggets. That's foreshadowing right there. 2027 second rounder from the Clippers. Boom, more foreshadowing. That is actually going to the Wizards. Even more foreshadowing. And then Cleveland is also getting Cam Whitmore from Washington. On Denver's side of things, they'll be getting an unprotected 2031 Cavs first-round pick. A 2032 Kings second-round pick. And they'll get Julian Reese from the Wizards. And they'll waive Reese off his 2-way deal. That way they can sign him to an actual contract. The Clippers just straight up get Max Strus. That's it. Washington, the Wizards will get Trey Mann from Cleveland. A 2027 second rounder from the Cavs via the Clippers. And then also the Cavs are going to throw in some cash. Don't know the amount exactly. They just said cash. They said, here's some shmoney for you. We feel bad. And then the Charlotte Hornets, the 5th team in this deal, are getting Dennis Schroeder, who has been passed around. I could give a lot of analogies, but I'm not going to. Dennis Schroeder, who has played for just about every team in the NBA, it feels like. And also some cold, hard shmoney. Cold, hard cash. That dough. What a deal. I get why they say blockbuster because of how many teams are involved in this, but come on, dude. It wasn't that big of a deal. Like, there's a lot of teams involved, but the biggest name, the 2 biggest parts of it are Max Strus and an unprotected 2031 first rounder from the Cavs. Those are the biggest pieces. Come on, dude. That's just funny. We're going to go ahead and take a timeout. When we come back, we'll wrap up hour number 1. That's coming up next.
This is RP3 and Meche live on ESPN 1037 Lafayette and 1041 Lake Charles, Southwest Louisiana's sports station. Delta Media is your home for Friday Night Football. STM on ESPN 1037, North Vermilion on 1063 Lafayette, Catholic High of New Iberia on Mustang 1071 FM, St. Landry Parish Game of the Week on Z1059, LRCA on News Talk 98.5 FM, and Barb on ESPN 1041. Listen to the games on the radio or on each station's free mobile app. Delta Media has you covered for thrilling Friday Night Football.
The heart of Acadiana is its local businesses, the people, families, and companies that help our communities thrive. Here's a message from a proud certified South Louisiana business.
Candyland Cottage is the place to satisfy all your cravings. Find delicious ice creams, fresh fudges, truffles, hot dogs, sausage po' boys, Frito pies, and homemade shakes. Visit us in Scott and Rain for a sweet treat. Plan your next birthday party or field trip at Candyland Cottage.
Shop local, support local. Certified South Louisiana.
Looking for a great midweek treat? Come to Mezcal Mexican Restaurant every Wednesday and Thursday and enjoy their sizzling fajita special. $13.99 plus tax all day long. Don't forget all day 2-for-1 margaritas. Are you planning a large party? Let Mezcal handle it. Call 337-484-3298 and Mezcal will take care of everything. That's a fajita special, $13.99 plus tax all day Wednesday and Thursday at Mezcal Mexican Restaurant, 3546 Ambassador Caffrey, next to Rooms to Go. Come taste the flavor of Mezcal.
You're still glowing, flirting, grooving. You've still got it. But your immune system weakens as you age, making it harder to fight illnesses like pneumococcal pneumonia and RSV. Vaccines are a key part of any health routine and can help protect you from getting really sick. Ask your doctor or pharmacist which vaccines you need. See more at PfizerForAll.com. Sponsored by Pfizer.
We pride ourselves on treating our listeners like royalty.
Excuse me.
Not actual members of the royal family, mind you, but rather individuals who wear paper crowns. Hey, it's better than nothing. Back to more of ESPN 1037 Lafayette and 1041 Lake Charles.
And we wrap up hour number 1 of RP3 Mesh sans the big, bald, beautiful one. And we'll give you an update on the poll question of the day. Of course, we asked you on Facebook and X, which I've noticed a lot of you are ready for our guest in hour number 2, our guy Avery Huffman of Dynasty Domain. If you want to go vote on this, if you're a Saints fan at all, you can absolutely do so. Our Twitter/X and Facebook profiles are ESPN_SWLA, and we asked you on these accounts, with all these injuries for the Saints, whether it's Alvin Kamara, Jordan Tyson, Brian Bresee, or maybe someone else. I gave you the list of guys. There's about 7-8 of them now, starting to pile up. Which injury was the biggest? Which one hurts the most? Right now, still, 44% of you have said Tyson, 35% have gone with Brian Bresee, 13% are saying Alvin Kamara, and about 9% have said other. If we look towards the comments, JBK the OD says Brian Bresee because it's the only season in England. That's not true. Dylan Radins, but I would say obviously Bresee, with him being a starting defensive lineman, it would matter more than the backup flexible offensive lineman. But nevertheless, I still get your point. Tyson is the new Zion Williamson on NOLA. Oh, I can't disagree. But get used to it. We'll be having the same conversation when it comes to decide his fifth-year option. AK is just living the NFL running back 30-plus life. He's the dark horse to step up. Here's the dark horse to step up in 24 days. Of course, he showed Devin Neal, which, like I said, Devin Neal also technically injured with a hamstring injury, so got to be a little bit weary about that as well. For Ralph, he says they all hurt, but I have a feeling that Tyson is one that is just the beginning of another wasted first-round pick. Bubble Wrap, Shuck, Achan, Olave, Vele, Chase Young, and Carl Granderson. September 13th just can't get here fast enough. I can't blame you. I don't blame you. I am ready for week 1 of the NFL. I'm ready for this to start. I feel so good about my dynasty team. I'm ready to go back-to-back. But speaking of dynasty, speaking of fantasy football, we're going to go ahead and take a timeout. But when we come back, I know all of you on our YouTube live stream are ready for this. We're going to bring on Avery Huffman of Dynasty Domain, talking fantasy football. We'll do that for not 1, but 2 segments coming up next. You're listening to ESPN, Southwest Louisiana Sports Station.
Did you know you can get great tasting Clear Springs artesian water delivered to your office or your doorstep at home? Clear Springs is 100% local with their own bottling facility at the world-famous Kentwood Aquifer, no chemicals added. Just pure Kentwood, Louisiana artesian water. Clear Springs Water offers delivery of 5 or 3-gallon water service with a hot and cold temperature water cooler or even single-serve bottles delivered to your home or office. Easy to reach, clearsprings.net, then contact us tab, or 337-519-3563.
It's 9 a.m. You just received a voicemail from your boss.
Hey, Janet. Heads up. We got an important meeting coming up Thursday. The big guys are coming into town, so I need you in charge of lunch, and we've got to look good.
Luckily for Janet, she knows a place, and she knows her boss will be impressed.
Honey Baked Ham can cater your next event. Delicious and freshly sliced deli trays, box lunches with sandwich, chips, and dessert. Or try our fresh salad boxes and the perfect touch with a meat and cheese tray. Honey Baked Ham Company.
Hear that? That's Alka-Seltzer, the sound of fast heartburn relief. Because when heartburn hits, you want something that works fast. Quick! Alka-Seltzer. Alka-Seltzer effervescent tablets start neutralizing stomach acid in seconds, so nothing works faster for heartburn relief. Next time, when that burning feeling comes on strong, don't wait. Quick! Alka-Seltzer. Try Alka-Seltzer. Use as directed.
This is the story of the one who keeps multiple buildings running smoothly day after day. Plumbing that flows, HVAC that hums, cleaning supplies that keep surfaces sparkling. That's why she counts on Grainger. With easy reordering online and 24/7 support, Grainger helps her keep the products she needs on hand. So shelves stay stocked and buildings stay ready. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Live from Upper Lafayette, this is ESPN 1037 KLWB Karen Crow Lafayette, KLCJ-FM Oak Grove Lake Charles 1041, a Delta Media station.
This game isn't fun. This game is a war.
It's time for the 2-minute drill.
Hurry it up, hurry it up, hurry it up!
Powered by B1 Bank. Visit b1bank.com to find a location near you.
Come on, let's go, you guys. Get in here, we gotta go fast now.
The Houston Astros bounced back with a 3-2 win last night over the Los Angeles Angels. In his Major League debut, Ethan Pecco gave the Astros 3 2/3 innings on the mound, giving up 2 runs with 3 walks and 4 strikeouts. Game 3 between the Astros and the Angels will be tonight at 7:10 p.m. at Daikin Park, and you can listen to it right here on ESPN 1037 Lafayette and 1041 Lake Charles. Week 2 of the NFL preseason begins tonight with 2 games taking place. At 7 p.m., the Oakland Raiders travel to Houston to take on the Texans. The Raiders are favored by 1.5, and kickoff is at 7 p.m. Then in the late kick, it's an all-California matchup between the visiting San Francisco 49ers and the Los Angeles Chargers. San Francisco is a 1.5-point favorite, and kickoff is at 9 p.m. tonight in L.A. The BMW Championship begins play today from Belle Reve Country Club in St. Louis, Missouri. The tournament is the second leg of the FedEx Cup playoffs, and at the conclusion of the event, the top 30 in the FedEx Cup standings will move on to East Lake Golf Club in Atlanta for the Tour Championship next weekend. Once again, Scotty Scheffler is the betting favorite at plus 310, and he'll tee off at 1:33 Central Time. The Louisiana judge has granted former LSU Tiger Jack Pyburn and 15 other players a temporary restraining order against the NCAA, allowing them to return to school and seek another year of college eligibility. The players' argument is that they're being denied the same opportunity given to future athletes under the NCAA's new eligibility rules. I'm Blake Purser, and you're listening to ESPN 1037 Lafayette and 1041 Lake Charles, your home for the LSU Tigers and the Houston Astros.
The 2-minute drill has been powered by B1 Bank. Visit b1bank.com to find a location near you. Dynamic duos are nothing new to Louisiana sports fans. Breeze and Colston, Burrow and Chase. And here in Acadiana, we have our very own dynamic duo.
You're beautiful.
It's the big, bald, bearded, and beautiful one, Raymond Parch III.
I'm sexy and I know it.
And the man with the best head of hair in sports talk radio in Louisiana and Mississippi, James Meche. Here is RP3 and Meche on ESPN 1037 Lafayette and 1041 Lake Charles, Southwest Louisiana's sports station.
Welcome into hour number 2 of RP3 and Meche as you're listening to ESPN 1037 Lafayette and 1041 Lake Charles, Southwest Louisiana sports station, broadcasting live from the Beal and Hebert studios here in Upper Lafayette in Louisiana. Beal and Hebert, Acadiana's hometown lawyers. If you missed hour number 1, did today's special, and my utter just disdain, there's another word for you, disdain with how college athletics is being run, the fact that we got pro players being allowed to come back to college, being granted access. Shout out to Louisiana courts for all the wrong reasons. We unveiled our poll question of the day, which has to do with Saints injuries. You can go vote on that on Facebook and on X. Go check it out, ESPN_SWLA. Of course, also talked about the quote-unquote blockbuster trade with the Cavs, Wizards, Hornets, and what felt like just about everybody else in the NBA just didn't feature big-time superstar players. Also, the Astros got a win last night. They took down the Angels 3-2. What's happening? Game 3 of the rubber match later on today, and you can listen to it right here on this station. Later on this hour, though, we'll talk Saints, we'll talk Pels with our guy Les East of Crescent City Sports, but I don't want to wait any longer. I know everybody in the Facebook chat is geared up and ready to go for our first guest of today's edition of the show. You may have heard of him before. We've had him on our airwaves before, but we bring him back once again. It's our guy, Avery Huffman of Dynasty Domain, talking fantasy football. He's on the ESPN hotline right now. Avery, how goes this on this Thursday, my man?
It goes pretty well. Thanks for having me back. I was telling the chat earlier when I was live that I couldn't have done too bad last year because you asked me to come back, and you asked me to come back for longer this time. So I was like, hey, I must have done pretty well on the radio. So
yeah, I mean, I would say, look, I've listened to you and I've listened to Nathan for quite a while now. I love y'all's insight. So I was like, you know what? Let's get it going once again, especially because we're in draft season. I'm not going to necessarily look at it from the dynasty perspective. I want to look at it from redraft. So I'll be a little bit scatterbrained on this one, but I do want to ask you, we'll start off technically in chronological order in a sense. When it comes to the debate of who should go at the 101, the first overall pick, a lot of talk. Of course, you could either go Bijan Robinson, maybe Jahmyr Gibbs. Perhaps you want to go somewhere like my guy Jamar Chase. What direction do you believe that most people should go in with that first overall pick?
Well, there's a lot of layers to that this year. I mean, I will say this, like of everybody over on the Flock site, which is where we host with all of our other creators and we all kind of share our rankings, every single creator over there has Jahmyr Gibbs at number one, except for Nathan's, which is kind of funny. Nathan's reasoning is he thinks Bijan's a little bit safer, and I get it. But, you know, the one thing to note there is, you know, pretty much everybody in our space has Gibbs and Bijan 1 and 2, and then there's a teardrop. So, you know, you talked about Jamar Chase. I came on the show last year, talked about how I thought Jamar Chase was a pretty good one-on-one. I took Jamar Chase in the Flock League, which is the biggest fantasy football league on YouTube. This year we're playing for $100K, which is nuts. And, you know, I ended up making the playoffs. It was okay. Jamar Chase was fine last year. But the other thing to this, you know, not only are Gibbs and Bijan, I think, the best players and have the best, you know, highest scoring upside, but from a positional value standpoint, this year what you're seeing in fantasy football drafts is running backs are going higher than they've gone in quite a while. And so being able to get a running back in the first round is good. From a positional value standpoint, being able to secure a running back with one of those first two picks and get one of the highest upside picks from a scoring perspective, also very good. And so most people, the debate is between Gibbs and Bijan, and honestly, I don't even think you need to debate it. I've got these guys in the same tier. Most people are taking Jahmyr Gibbs over Bijan at the 101 simply because the schedule is better for Gibbs than it is for Bijan Robinson. However, if somebody's taking Bijan Robinson there at the 1, I don't mind it. I do think you need to take one of these two guys. You know, obviously scoring setting dependent, but we're just talking your classic home fantasy football league. You got to be looking at Gibbs or Bijan. I'm taking Gibbs. I think most people are taking Gibbs right now. He's been the consensus 101 across fantasy football so far.
Now, with that being the case, and you talking about running backs kind of going at the forefront early on in drafts, there's so many different draft strategies that you could go. Maybe you want to go hero RB, maybe zero RB, hero wide receiver, maybe double up and stack on the tight ends, especially if there's a PPR bonus towards the tight end position. I know it kind of depends on the league and the settings and how the rosters are set up, but is there a specific strategy this year that you think is just absolutely no way you have a chance of making the playoffs or even contending if you go in this direction?
I wouldn't go to the extreme and say that like you don't have a chance if you don't follow one specific strategy, because as we all know, fantasy football is so luck oriented that you can make the playoffs, you can win a fantasy league with any type of team. I mean, I've had my wife play, who knows nothing about football or fantasy football. I've had my wife play in leagues with me within the last 2 years, and she beats me at fantasy football. And she's drafted some of the worst teams I've ever seen. And so I'm not going to say that you cannot do it with certain strategies. I, of course, do have a strategy that we like this year. We posted a full walkthrough video over on our channel. It's Domain Fantasy Football if you are interested. And basically we talked about how we like going double running back this year. We like going double running back and then basically taking wide receiver pretty consistently through rounds like 3 through 6. Now, a couple of rules that we have for fantasy drafts this year. We like 2 running backs at least through the first 4 rounds. We like to have at least 1 wide receiver through the first 4 rounds. And if you're going to take one of those tight ends or quarterbacks that you talked about, we'd only like taking either 1 quarterback or 1 tight end through the first 6 rounds and not taking both. And so I think where you can really trip yourself up this year from a strategy standpoint is taking both elite quarterback and elite tight end. And by the way, I don't know if this is going to happen across the board. I don't know if it's going to be the majority in home leagues, casual leagues, work leagues, things like that. At least in the leagues we've been playing in, quarterback has gone further down the board this year than I've ever seen. And I think that kind of speaks to the positional value of, kind of taking advantage of wide receiver and running back. And if you miss out on those positions, I do think it puts you at an inherent disadvantage to start the year in your fantasy draft. Not good, obviously. You're wanting to get as many wins early as possible in these leagues. And so I think you can go elite tight end, though. I think you can go draft elite quarterback and still make the playoffs. However, I will say this. The grave mistakes I see people making in leagues this year are punting running back completely. You want to go either hero running back, double running back, right? Grab at least 2 running backs through the first 4 rounds, and taking those onesie positions, of course, if there's not a tight end premium or something like that, taking those tight ends and quarterbacks too high in your fantasy drafts. Definitely best to prioritize running back and wide receiver. And in our opinion this year, running back is king. And if you do see running backs going off the board in your fantasy drafts a lot faster this year, probably means you should snatch them up before you hit the running back cliff, because once you hit the cliff in the 5th, 6th round of running backs, it gets real ugly there. And you really can't win without running backs, in my opinion, this year.
I want to ask you about a local guy. He actually went to my alma mater, graduated a couple years after me. We're talking about Malik Neighbors. Of course, he's got the big-time injury, and we've gotten updates about him. He had the multiple surgeries during the offseason. And he's, of course, gone back to about the 3rd round, if I'm not mistaken, with redrafts right now.
Yeah.
Are you comfortable with taking him in that position, or would you rather see him later on if he falls to in like maybe the 4th or the 5th round?
Yeah, at this point, I don't think it's super realistic that he's going to go in the 4th or 5th round, because what we've had with Malik Neighbors is throughout the offseason, not good news on Neighbors. It sounded like the dude wasn't even going to be ready to play at the beginning of the year. I'm looking at the ADP across different sources here. He doesn't go into the 3rd round in any platform, right? So I'm looking at CBS. He's in the 3rd round. Yahoo. He's like at the 1-2 turn. 3rd round for ESPN. 3rd round for beginning of the 3rd round for all of these. And so I think the latest you're getting Malik Neighbors at this point in time is the early 3rd round. And part of the reason for that is we all thought this guy was cooked. I mean, everybody saw the video of him. He was running it like a celebrity softball game. Literally could not run. He was limping. His knee was huge. You had, John Harbaugh come out and basically saying that like he was going through the slog of it. And all of a sudden this dude shows up at camp and he looks like $1 million. And he's running routes, he's cutting, he's fluid. He looks fine. Now he's not doing everything full strength yet. And I think that's worth noting. But where am I comfortable taking him? I mean, I'm pretty sure I've got this guy ranked now 2-3 turn. I think I might have him in my top 24 at this point. Part of the reason for this is if he's going to be healthy, and it looks like he is, you're talking about one of the most talented wide receivers in the NFL. Getting him and pairing him with a Bijan, Gibbs, or Jamar Chase in one of the top 3 picks, right, in the 2nd round, you can't really pass up on that. I mean, that's a pretty good opportunity to get an elite player at a discount. Now, I will say in general, I'm pretty anti-drafting injured players, right? And you do have Malik Neighbors coming off a pretty serious injury. We just did a draft on the channel about 45 minutes ago, and he went at the 3-2. And the 1-2 started with Bijan Robinson, George Pickens, and Malik Neighbors. And that's a pretty good start for a fantasy football team. So I think if you're sitting in the 3rd round, for example, in this draft, I was at the 3 spot. I was sitting at the 3-3, and he was still on the board at 3-2. If he would have made it to me at 3-3, I wasn't going to let him slide any further, and I was going to take him there. So I've got him ranked now at the 2-3 turn. And in my opinion, I think that's the lowest he's going to go. If more news starts to come out where it's like, okay, Malik Neighbors is now practicing in full, and he's going to play in the preseason game or whatever, I think there's a real possibility you could see him go in like the early mid-second this year. I probably wouldn't be comfortable taking him there just because he does still have the injury at the end of the day, and I think there are safer options there at running back. But it's worth noting he is climbing up boards. He is going up ADP. And I am comfortable selecting him at the 2-3 turn this year because everything points to this guy being ready for week 1. Kind of unexpected in my opinion, but obviously a welcome surprise to anybody who plays fantasy football and likes watching Malik Neighbors play football. And it'll be interesting to see how he kind of fits into a new scheme this year with the New York Giants. Obviously, new coaching staff and Jackson Dart kind of emerging as a second-year quarterback. So we'll see with Neighbors. I am comfortable taking him. He's going around the 2-3 turn right now in fantasy drafts.
I remember a few weeks ago I saw somebody post something about every 5 years there's a white wide receiver that finishes top 5 at the position. Of course, you look back at Cooper Kupp in 2021 with the Triple Crown. 2016, I had to do the math to make sure, but Jordy Nelson technically was the wide receiver 5, about 0.3 points ahead of Antonio Brown that year. And then in 2011, it was Wes Welker. Do you believe that Ladd McConkey has the ability, especially with Mike McDaniel now controlling the offense and having Justin Herbert a quarterback, do you believe that Ladd McConkey is that guy that can continue the trend?
That is a crazy stat. I've not heard.
I didn't know about that, but then I
saw
it. It was crazy.
That's interesting. Yeah, Ladd. Here's the thing. I think Ladd is a guy that Nathan and I have kind of picked out this year that we really like. Much better situation for him this year, right? You go from having Greg Roman there as the offensive coordinator to bringing over Mike McDaniel, who was obviously the head coach with the Miami Dolphins for the last couple of years. And you saw with the Miami Dolphins, the guys in that offense are going to be hyper productive. Not to mention, schematically, when you're talking about Ladd McConkey, he's going to benefit a lot from less 3 wide receiver sets. Greg Roman ran a lot of sets with 3 wide receivers, and naturally, you run more sets with less target competition. Your fantasy production, if you're an elite wide receiver, tends to go up. And so I think Ladd McConkey is going to see an increase in production. Top 5's pushing it a little bit. I think his ceiling is probably like I want to say a low-end wide receiver 1. So wide receiver 6 through 12 finish on the year, I think would be his ceiling. Because I'm looking at Chase, Puka, JSN, Amon-Ra St. Brown, and then any of Lamb, Jefferson, Drake London, Nico Collins, George Pickens, A.J. Brown. Like all of those guys, in my opinion, have a higher ceiling. I think the only way I see Ladd in the top 5 is if enough of those guys go down with injury, which would just be not fun for any of us playing fantasy football. But I will say, Ladd's being drafted right now at like wide receiver 15 to 20 prices, and I do think he has wide receiver 1 upside this year. I think he has the ability to be a top 12 wide receiver, and so I like Ladd a lot. He's my guy this year. I'm not projecting him to be in the top 5. Would it absolutely shock me if he were in the top 5? No, it wouldn't shock me. He is capable of it. It would be surprising, but anytime you have a lead wide receiver that's as good of a route runner as Ladd McConkey is, in an offense as potent as a Mike McDaniel offense, it's certainly possible. I don't see it happening, but I do think he has a very high ceiling relative to where he's being drafted this year.
I'll throw one of the guys in the live chat a bone because he's made a couple comments wanting to ask you about Wan'Dale Robinson and how do you feel how he's going to do this year?
Yeah, shout out to the live chat. I'm watching you guys in there. Yeah, Wan'Dale's an interesting one. So we are higher. I think Nathan and I are higher on Wan'Dale Robinson. Obviously, was a New York Giant last year. In a PPR merger, right? If you're playing in PPR leagues, this guy was a cheat code because he's not getting a ton of yak. He's not getting a ton of big plays, but he's simply just getting a lot of targets and a lot of receptions. And when you're playing in point per reception league, the dude could have 30 yards on 9 catches and still have 12, 13 plus fantasy points, right? And so he's kind of the PPR cheat code. He obviously leaves the Giants in free agency. He goes to the Tennessee Titans. He reunites there with Brian Daboll, who's the new offensive coordinator for Cam Ward. The interesting thing here is obviously when you're buying into the Titans offense, you're buying into an offense that nobody expects to be very good this year. Cam Ward obviously going to have to take a much needed step forward this year. Will that happen? I don't know, man. Obviously, I don't want to put too much weight into the preseason games, but he looked pretty bad the first preseason game. I think there's a lot of ceiling there. I think he could be much better, but you're also looking at competing for targets with Carnell Tate, who was a top 5 pick in the NFL draft, and a very high pedigree wide receiver out of Ohio State, who a lot of people expect to perform right away this year. With Wan'Dale, though, Wan'Dale's going to be that easy target for Cam Ward, right? Carnell Tate's more of a big play, stretch the field type of receiver. Wan'Dale's more of that PPR merchant where he's going to get a lot of those easy targets that Cam Ward kind of needed last year, didn't really have anybody to throw to. And so Wan'Dale could be interesting. Like price-wise right now for fantasy football, I mean, you're looking at 8th, 9th round for Wan'Dale Robinson, he could easily end up being a pretty good return on investment there given the price. And so my main hesitancy with Wan'Dale is, of course, you are buying into the Titans offense. And yeah, if you're watching the guys that you draft in fantasy football every week, that means you've got to watch the Titans every week. I'm not the biggest fan of watching the Titans play football every week. I'm also a Colts fan, and I kind of hate the Titans. But with Wan'Dale, he easily could be a pretty good return on investment there when you're talking about getting him at 8th, 9th round prices this year.
We're going to go ahead and take a timeout, but don't go anywhere. We're going to continue our fantasy conversation with our guy, Avery Huffman, coming up next. You're listening to RP3 and Mesh.
RP3 and Mesh, live on ESPN 103.7 Lafayette and 104.1 Lake Charles, Southwest Louisiana's sports station.
Make sure to set your alarm and tune in Saturday mornings at 10 o'clock for Sports Shorts here on ESPN 103.7 Lafayette and 104.1 Lake Charles. Join me, Ronnie Rance, and the Sports Shorts team of Tommy Christsand, Hunter McCann, and the crazy man, Joel Davis, as we break down the sports and teams that you love. The LSU Tigers, New Orleans Saints, and everything in between. Tune in Saturday mornings from 10 to noon for Sports Shorts here on Southwest Louisiana's sports station.
The best businesses aren't just businesses, they're neighbors. Here's a message from a proud certified South Louisiana business.
Brobridge Truck Stop Casino. They have the newest games around. Hot seat drawings and monthly specials like no one else. Located on the Brobridge Highway and on the banks of the Vermilion River. Come out today and try your luck at the Brobridge Truck Stop Casino.
When you support local businesses, you strengthen the communities we call home. Shop local, support local, certified South Louisiana.
Imagine building your dream backyard pool without ever leaving your couch. With Duplessis Builders, you can go shop our in-ground gunite pool packages online, start to finish. Browse our pool designs, compare features, see exactly what's included, and choose the package that fits your style and budget. Once you purchase, our team takes over. From permit and excavation to gunite decking and final startup, you click, we build, you swim. Your backyard upgrade is just a few clicks away. Visit duplessisbuilders.net and buy your pool online today.
Looking for a spotless workplace? Variety Janitorial Services is your go-to. For office cleaning to stripping and floor waxing and carpet cleaning, your commercial space will look its best. Their reputation for perfection has grown throughout the entire Acadiana community. They deliver top-notch service with a commitment to excellence. Daily, weekly, or deep cleaning, trust the experts. Visit varietyjan.com today or call 337-298-8704 for a free quote. Variety Janitorial Services. We clean, you shine.
Misfits Dine and Drink, a destination restaurant in Broussard, is constantly evolving. Dine in for great food and a great atmosphere. Whether it's lunch, dinner, or brunch on Saturday or Sunday, stop in to enjoy a handmade gourmet pizza or one of their delicious pastas. Take a sip of their new and seasonal craft cocktails and mocktails. And don't forget dessert. Try the birthday cake bread pudding. Whether it's new menu items or old favorites, come to Misfits for a great food experience. It's classic Italian with a modern twist. Misfits Dine and Drink, 200 Heritage Parkway off Highway 90 in Broussard.
You're still glowing, flirting, grooving. You've still got it. But your immune system weakens as you age, making it harder to fight illnesses like pneumococcal pneumonia and RSV. Vaccines are a key part of any health routine and can help protect you from getting really sick. Ask your doctor or pharmacist which vaccines you need. See more at PfizerForAll.com. Sponsored by Pfizer.
One enjoys eating hot dogs and watching baseball. The other loves eating sushi and playing yogurt U-card games. Not sure exactly what that is, but good for him, I guess. Anyway, back to more RP3 and Mesh.
We continue our conversation talking fantasy football with the Dynasty man himself of Dynasty Domain, Avery Huffman, on the ESPN hotline. Avery, I want to look a little bit more towards the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I remember Bucky Irving had a phenomenal rookie season. And then last year, injuries and other factors played into him just having a disappointing season. What I find interesting, though, is they did pick up Kenneth Gainwell this offseason. Where are you with Bucky Irving and him potentially having a bounce-back season in 2026?
Yeah, the nice thing about Bucky is, the price is much better this year. Bucky was being drafted last year in the second round at the absolute latest in the early third round. That was always a little bit rich for my blood in terms of taking him there. But he had a very good rookie season. He was super efficient on a yards per carry basis in his rookie year. Last year, the efficiency dipped. Obviously, you had an injury to Baker Mayfield, and you had an injury to Bucky himself. Bucky had, I think, both a foot and a shoulder injury last year. He evidently was still recovering from it this offseason, but it sounds like he's full strength, good to go, full participant in practice, all of that. Now, in terms of where he's going this year, I mean, obviously you mentioned it. They bring in Kenneth Gainwell. Gainwell's role last year in the Steelers, you'll remember, he was a top 20 running back in fantasy football because Aaron Rodgers threw so many check down passes in that Steelers offense last year. So Kenny Gainwell ended up having a ton of receiving work, and if you had him in PPR leagues, he was really good. Now, the Buccaneers go and pick him up. How much does that actually cut into Bucky's fantasy ceiling? I think it definitely decreases his ceiling, but Bucky was not a guy that was getting the majority of his points from the receiving game anyways. Even in his rookie year, he had a fair amount of targets, but it wasn't like he's a primary receiving back. And so, you know, Bucky could absolutely be good for a bounce-back year just simply because he's healthy this year. Obviously, you have some more drama in Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay is kind of all over the place right now organizationally. You've got, Vita Vea got extended yesterday. Baker has obviously been vying for an extension, hasn't gotten one. He's been very vocally upset about that. But in the midst of all the chaos, you've got Buck Irving kind of going in the late fourth, early fifth round of fantasy football drafts this year. So you're getting him if you're drafting him from like the 101 to the 104. And I'm okay with that price. Part of the reason I'm okay with that price is because when you're talking about drafting in those 1 through 4 fantasy football this year, we talked about having those 2 running backs through 4 rounds. It's a very hard place to get running back outside of Bijan or Gibbs because that 2-3 turn, you're talking about reaching on guys like Javonte Williams of Dallas, Kyron Williams of the Los Angeles Rams. So a lot of times to satisfy that requirement of like, hey, I don't want to walk away from this draft with no running backs this year, you've got to take a guy at the 4-5 turn. The guys you're looking at there are Bucky Irving, Quinshon Judkins, Bashal Tutin on the Jaguars, Jadarian Price, rookie on the Seattle Seahawks. And so with that, you're looking at all those guys. I think Bucky has probably the highest ceiling of all those guys. And I'm okay taking him there in the 4th round. And so, 4-5 turn for Bucky is a fine price for me. I think he could break out. And I think you're drafting him at a price this year where if you do take him there and he doesn't have the same, Bucky still averaged 13.5 plus points per game last year. If he averages that and you draft him in the 4th, 5th round, which I think he's very capable of repeating what he did last year, even in a down year, I don't think you're upset about that. And so he is fine. His price is perfectly fine to me. I'm fine. And while he may not be, an elite upside running back, I think he is somebody you can start on a week-to-week basis and feel pretty good about it.
I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you about the black and gold and some of the players on that team. We know that rookie Jordan Tyson already has a hamstring injury, which, of course, is going to scare a lot of people. I knew it was inevitable. I didn't think it was going to happen at least this early. But with that being the case, where are you with some of the other guys on this offense, and where would you want to draft them, whether you're looking at Shuck in his 2nd year, Olave after the extension, Achane now coming back home, or even someone like Jawan Johnson at tight end?
Yeah, okay, well, so let's go through this. Yeah, I figured this question would be coming, so I'm well-versed in my Saints. So let's start with Chris Olave. First of all, I love Chris Olave. My co-host, Nathan, he loves Chris Olave. It's Nathan's birthday today, so big happy birthday shout-out to Nathan. Olave is he's a guy last year that really outperformed his ADP, and this year the adjustment has come. He's going now at the 2-3 turn. Last year, he averaged 16.5, almost 17 points per game. He was the wide receiver 8 on points per game standpoint, the wide receiver 6 overall. Now, they bring in Jordan Tyson. Olave, I think where he was going, you were getting him in the early mid-3rd with Tyson healthy. I think it's perfectly fine. I think that Tyson helps Olave, right? I think when you add another elite wide receiver to an offense with only one elite wide receiver, that's going to make defenses respect both of them a little bit more. It will make Chris Olave's life a little bit easier. Problem with Jordan Tyson. I love him as a prospect. I still love him as a prospect. I love him in dynasty leagues. I love him in redraft. I can't say I love him in redraft leagues now because he goes out with the hamstring. And the big knock on Jordan Tyson's profile when the Saints drafted him in the top 10 was his hamstrings. And so for him to already have a hamstring injury that they swear up and down is not related to any of the hamstring injuries he's had before. Number one, I don't necessarily believe that. But number two, I'm not quite sure how comfortable you are drafting Jordan Tyson this year. Again, drafting injured players in fantasy football are players are not going to play for the first 2, 3, 4 weeks of the season. You're giving up a roster spot if you draft those guys in the top 8 rounds. So I've started to see him go off the board in the 9th now. Am I fine with that? Here and there, I will take him there in the 9th, 10th round. I would definitely take him. he was going in the 6th round. Jordan Tyson was a mid-6th round pick until literally 6 days ago. And I think that was appropriate then. I think it's more than appropriate now that he actually falls down ranks a little bit and, becomes somebody that is a very risky pick in fantasy football. Outside of that, you've also got more injury news for the Saints. You've got Alvin Kamara, who a lot of people were pretty low on Travis Etienne, who they brought in free agency because Kamara was still there. Obviously, Kamara wants to retire a Saint. Kamara is not going to be out for the start of the season, it looks like, and so Etienne's stock has kind of shot up. He's going in the mid to late, actually I'll say early to mid 4th now with the recent news. In fact, I just did a draft. He went in the 3rd round. So it's been a little bit of a stock up for Etienne with the Alvin Kamara injury. Tyler Shuck, in a 1QB redraft league, you're probably not taking him. He's probably going to be on waivers, but I think he could end up being a guy who is streamable on a week-to-week basis because we saw last year when he was the starter, he really got into the groove of that Kellen Moore offense, and he started to produce at a pretty high level from a fantasy perspective. So he is probably not somebody that's getting drafted, but it could be somebody that is picked up off of waivers for certain, plug-and-play bye weeks and things like that. Juwan Johnson was obviously very productive last year as a tight end. I think Juwan Johnson could be more productive this year if Jordan Tyson's not going to be on the field because he was their second receiving option last year. That's really why they brought in Jordan Tyson, is because they really needed a second receiver, and Juwan Johnson was essentially acting as that. He's not currently being drafted super high in most leagues. In fact, I feel like a lot of leagues he's not being drafted at all because, again, the strategy this year is to kind of fade quarterback, fade tight end. But here's the thing. In general, the Saints offense this year, they're going to run a lot of plays. I think they're going to score a good amount of points. And with the injuries to Kamara and Tyson, I think it's stock up for both Chris Olave and Travis Etienne. They're both top 4-round picks right now in fantasy football. I think that's well-deserved as well.
What about with another guy on the Saints offense? Are you now being more open to targeting someone like Devon Vele late in drafts?
It really depends on how deep your league is with that one. Devon Vele on average is not ranked high enough for me to say that I would consistently take him. The thing about Vele is we just don't have – he averaged 8 points a game his rookie year, 5 points a game last year. We just don't have consistency from him. He had last year 2 double-digit games, right? 23 points in week 13 and 12 points in week 15. He certainly could be somebody that could be a sneaky waiver pickup if more injuries were to occur. Right now, I think he's probably not going to get enough volume to be relevant, and so that would be my take on Vele right now. I don't see him getting drafted in fantasy leagues right now, so I do think he's available on waivers in almost all fantasy leagues, and we'll see. I mean, the deep roster dynasty sickos would definitely love if Devon Vele became relevant. As of right now, I'm not quite sure he's worth a shot yet.
I mean, I would be. He's sitting on my bench right now in my dynasty league as I'm trying to go back-to-back, so I'm right there with you.
Yeah.
Ave, before we let you go, I want you to give a shout-out to not only chat, but also tell people here in the Lafayette, Acadiana area where they can find you and Nathan's work, including the birthday boy.
Yeah, big shout-out to all the peeps in the chat. We got the domain community in the chat. You guys are the best. So me and Nathan, happy birthday, buddy. You can find us on a couple different places. We're primarily on YouTube, okay? So we've got 2 YouTube channels. For fantasy football, it's Domain Fantasy Football. You can find us there if you want to hear more of me yapping like you heard today on the radio today. Dynasty Domain, if you're into playing Dynasty Fantasy Football, that's how we like to play. We love keeping our players year over year. It's more strategy. It's more being invested in younger players and rookies and things like that. You can find us on Dynasty Domain on YouTube. And then also we play in the Flock League. The draft video for that drops tomorrow. $100,000 fantasy league that we document everything on YouTube. So you can find that on YouTube as well, the Flock League. And, social media. If you want to see me sarcastically tweet, Domain Fantasy on Twitter. We also have TikTok. We have Instagram. It's Domain Fantasy Football on both of those as well. And, I really appreciate you having me on. Again, big birthday shout-out to Nathan. And I know he's probably listening and is very proud of me for giving him a birthday shout-out. But I appreciate you letting me come on again, man. This is a lot of fun.
Absolutely. And I had a lot more questions. We just ran out of time. So with that being the case, can I get you on at some point next week or the week after before the season starts?
Yeah, just message me on Discord and we'll get it figured out.
I gotcha. There goes our guy, Avery Huffman of Domain Dynasty or Dynasty Domain, all on YouTube. Can go check it out on social media as well. He did great stuff once again. We're going to go ahead and take a timeout. When we come back, we'll talk about those Saints and we'll talk maybe a little bit of Pels with our guy Les East of Crescent City Sports. That's coming up next. You're listening to RP3 and Mesh.
This is RP3 and Mesh, live on ESPN 103.7 Lafayette and 104.1 Lake Charles, Southwest Louisiana's sports station.
This game isn't fun. This game is a war.
It's time for the 2-minute drill.
Hurry it up, hurry it up, hurry it up.
Powered by B1 Bank. Visit b1bank.com to find a location near you.
Come on, let's go, you guys. Get in here, we gotta go fast now.
The Houston Astros bounced back with a 3-2 win last night over the Los Angeles Angels. In his Major League debut, Ethan Peco gave the Astros 3 2/3 innings on the mound, giving up 2 runs with 3 walks and 4 strikeouts. Game 3 between the Astros and the Angels will be tonight at 7:10 p.m. at Dyken Park, and you can listen to it right here on ESPN 103.7 Lafayette and 104.1 Lake Charles. Week 2 of the NFL preseason begins tonight with 2 games taking place. At 7 p.m., the Oakland Raiders travel to Houston to take on the Texans. The Raiders are favored by 1.5, and kickoff is at 7 p.m. Then in the late kick, it's an all-California matchup between the visiting San Francisco 49ers and the Los Angeles Chargers. San Francisco is a 1.5-point favorite, and kickoff is at 9 p.m. tonight in L.A. The BMW Championship begins play today from Belle Reve Country Club in St. Louis, Missouri. The tournament is the second leg of the FedEx Cup playoffs, and at the conclusion of the event, the top 30 in the FedEx Cup standings will move on to East Lake Golf Club in Atlanta for the Tour Championship next weekend. Once again, Scotty Scheffler is the betting favorite at plus 310, and he'll tee off at 1:33 Central Time. The Louisiana judge has granted former LSU Tiger Jack Pyburn and 15 other players a temporary restraining order against the NCAA, allowing them to return to school and seek another year of college eligibility. The players' argument is that they're being denied the same opportunity given to future athletes under the NCAA's new eligibility rules. I'm Blake Purser, and you're listening to ESPN 103.7 Lafayette and 104.1 Lake Charles, your home for the LSU Tigers and the Houston Astros.
The 2-minute drill has been powered by B1 Bank. Visit b1bank.com to find a location near you. ESPN 103.7 Lafayette and 104.1 Lake Charles is the proud winner of 4 2026 LAB Prestige Awards, including Best Use of Digital Media, Foot's Friday Fury, Best Live On-Site Remote for our Super Bowl Radio Road coverage, Best Promotion for our No Shave November initiative, and Radio Young Professional of the Year for Dawson Iserloh. We're proud of being Southwest Louisiana's sports station and are humbled to be recognized by the Louisiana Association of Broadcasters.
It's 9 a.m. You just received a voicemail from your boss.
Hey, Janet, heads up. We got an important meeting coming up Thursday. The big guys are coming into town, so I need you in charge of lunch, and we've got to look good.
Luckily for Janet, she knows a place, and she knows her boss will be impressed.
Honey Baked Ham can cater your next event. Delicious and freshly sliced deli trays, box lunches with sandwich, chips, and dessert. Or try our fresh salad boxes. And the perfect touch with a meat and cheese tray. Honey Baked Ham Company.
Are your pipes giving you problems? Is that leaky faucet driving you crazy? Don't wait for a plumbing disaster. Call the experts at Ace Plumbing, your trusted local plumbers for over 30 years. At Ace Plumbing, we do it all. Clogged drains, water heater repairs, pipe replacements, and more. With decades of experience, we deliver fast, reliable, and affordable solutions for your home or business.
Ace Plumbing fixed my burst pipe in no time, and the price was great. They're the only plumbers I trust.
From small leaks to big emergencies, Ace Plumbing is just one call away. We're available 24/7 because plumbing problems don't wait. Call Ace Plumbing today at 337-565-2519 or visit us online at aceplumbinginc.com. That's 337-565-2519.
Ace Plumbing, your personal plumber. Let us give you a hand.
Need peace of mind with your estate planning? Turn to Bill and Hebert, your trusted Acadiana hometown lawyers. At Bill and Hebert, we make estate planning simple and stress-free, ensuring your legacy is secure and your future is in the right hands. Don't wait. Schedule your consultation today at BillHebert.com. That's BillHebert.com. Safeguarding your tomorrow today.
Every year, summer ends and the kids go back to school. This year, I'm going back too, at My Computer Career. They'll help me get the skills and certifications that can get me noticed by top employers in months, not years. Now I'm on a fast track to a high-demand IT career where the rewards can finally match my value. Visit mycomputercareer.edu and take the free career evaluation today. That's mycomputercareer.edu. It's never too late to go back to school.
Financial aid is available to those who qualify, including VA benefits.
Green 18 cent!
Who dat ready for New Orleans Saints talk? We are. That's who. Time to talk all things black and gold. This is the Big Easy Blitz here on RP3 and Mesh.
And to talk about those New Orleans Saints and even a little bit of Pelicans, we'll go to the ESPN hotline one last time to bring on our second and final guest of today's edition of the show. It's our good friend Les East of Crescent City Sports. Les, how goes it on this Thursday?
It's going well, James. How are you guys doing over in Acadiana?
We're doing good over here. I can guarantee that we have not gotten in any physical altercations, much like the Saints have done.
That's true, and hopefully no one's been injured in a manner that will sideline them for weeks.
That is also true. I can say right now, everybody's good and healthy at the moment. I do want to ask you about the fights. Like, I thought overall it was a good practice. I thought we saw a lot of good things with Shuck in the offense. Now, the defense also kind of got picked apart a little bit by Dak Prescott and company, but I think this Cowboys team is going to be really good this season. I expect them to win that NFC East division. So it was definitely good work early on in this preseason and throughout this training camp process. But when it comes to the fight themselves, we asked it as a poll question earlier this week. How do you feel about seeing different teams fight with each other in a scrimmage practice?
Well, let me start by saying that ultimately when they start playing games that count, it's not going to mean anything. But in the short term, if you want to try and read the tea leaves of what it means, there are two things that I guess are at play. One is you certainly, if some sort of altercation breaks out, you certainly want to see teammates rush to the defense of their teammate who's involved in the altercation. And if there are multiple teammates, then it may escalate. But you want to see guys care enough for each other to stand up stand up for one of them. And it seems like that's what happened in this case. And I think this is a very close unit, so that wouldn't surprise me. So that would be a good thing if they had each other's backs. The other element is I remember when the Saints trained in La Crosse, Wisconsin under Jim Mora, they practiced with the Kansas City Chiefs in River Falls, Wisconsin, and something similar happened to what happened with the Cowboys on Tuesday. And, I think most people took a lighthearted approach to it, like, it's boys being boys, and, hey, did our guys win the fight or whatever. But Jim Mora was much more serious about it, and he was angry because it showed a lack of discipline on the team and with some individuals, and it interfered with the quality of work they were getting in the practice, which I think is a very valid and very coach-like way of looking at it. So I don't think you want to see a whole lot of that stuff happening because your team should be able to be physical and play hard and not lose their cool no matter what the circumstances are. But at the same time, you don't want guys just letting their teammates, fight on their own. So, you can try and interpret those two elements any way you want, but and it's already forgotten because they're probably going to have something happen with the Rams today.
I do want to look towards the injuries because they are starting to pile up. Initially, you saw Brissy go down with the injury, which definitely was unfortunate, but you still at least like the defensive line depth as a whole at the moment. Dylan Radins also goes down. Both of them are going to be out for the year, but over these last couple of days and even going back to last week, Tyson ends up getting the hamstring, which those are tricky. You got Quincy Riley, who injured himself the other day in the joint practice with a groin injury. And then you've also got Alvin Kamara with the MCL, where these guys are going to be out between a month, 2 months, or maybe even more. And they're supposed to be starters and big-time producers for this team.
Yeah, it has been bad here over the last several days, and there is some concern. Certainly, Jordan Tyson is the biggest one because it looks like, other than the season-ending injuries that you mentioned, his is going to be probably the longer term in the group, maybe into October. It looks like probably into October, and it's an injury that he has a history with, and as you mentioned, it's tricky. So that's the major concern. Quincy Riley's also a concern. Alvin Kamara's a concern. We still have Cam Jordan, who got hurt earlier, and Audric Estime. I think his being an ankle might not be as long a term as some of the others. But you look at all of that, and it's concerning because sometimes those things seem to become contagious, and you hope this isn't the start of a trend that's going to continue. If it's basically isolated to this group of injuries, it's not necessarily that terrible. You got to remember, with the way the schedule is set up, we're still 3.5 weeks from the season opener. So if somebody's going to miss a few weeks, they might still be ready for the opener. And if not, they could be ready for early in the season. And if these guys are able to come back and they miss a little time in September and they hit their stride in October and they're, maybe a little sharper in December than guys who have been through a 17-game grind, it can almost be a benefit down the stretch. So it's nothing to panic about at this point, but Jordan Tyson and Quincy Riley are the most concerning, I would think, and then we'll see how it plays out. But it's a long way to the peak of the season. So I think there's a good chance most, if not all, of these guys will still be major contributors for the majority of the season.
Going back to Saturday's preseason game versus the Jaguars inside the Caesar Superdome, both of us were there watching the game live. But I do want to ask you, there was a lot of guys that stood out in the game, had positive performances. But who do you think from the preseason game really raised their stock the most and gave themselves the best chance of making this roster?
Well, I think there were two people who stood out to me. Martin Emerson Jr., I think, is significant, and this is even before the Quincy Riley injury, which makes Emerson even more important because you're counting on your top two corners being really young guys, and Riley and Kool-Aid McKinstry. And, we're not sure if both of them are ready for the type of responsibility they're being given. Martin Emerson is a guy who had 3 good years in Cleveland before he got hurt last year. If he's healthy and able to play at that level, that gives them a big fallback option with a veteran at cornerback. So I think the way he played, 3 pass breakups in limited action, continuing what's been a good camp for him, I think that was very significant. And then the other one was also a DB in the safety, and I'm drawing a blank on the guy, the backup star, the slot corner.
Jaden Price.
Who made Price, who made the interception that set up, I believe, one of the touchdowns. And he's had a very good camp. He's probably going to be able to contribute on special teams, which I think is going to really strengthen his resume for a roster spot. And if he makes it, he's also important because, they're counting on Jonas Sanker in his second year to be the slot corner. And Price, if you're going to need at least 2 guys to handle that position, and if Price is able to play the slot corner as well as special teams effectively, I think that's significant. So I would say that was encouraging in the secondary, the way those 2 guys played, and that only gets magnified with Quincy Riley getting hurt after that. And then the other thing I would mention is that you have to think Tanner Brown has at least a small leg up, so to speak, on Charlie Smith after out-kicking him in the opener, but there's still time for that to change.
Before we let you go, Les, I do want to quickly switch over to the Pelicans because it's been a pretty nothing off season. It's been pretty quiet. They've made a couple of signings here and there, but they've all been 1 or 2 year deals where I think the highest one is maybe $8 million, and I think that was DeAndre Jordan of them re-signing him. So there hasn't been a lot of splash moves by Joe Dumars and company. But I do want to get your reaction to them actually getting a guy in the front court and a former LSU Tiger in Trenton Watford.
Well, I think it's a good signing. I think Watford was very good at LSU, and he's, bounced around the league a little bit, but he's shown that he's capable of being a capable bench player. And they need depth. A lot of people would say they need to bolster their lineup, and I can't disagree with that. But in absence of major moves, they still have to fill out the bench. And I think Trenton Watford, I don't think there's any guaranteed money unless he's on the roster, I believe, through December. So there's no real commitment there financially. And I think he's a guy who can help out depth-wise. He's a front court guy. They need help there. He can shoot, he can defend, he can do a lot of things. So I think that's a nice piece to bring in as potentially a rotation guy, but that's not going to move the needle on the over-under a number of wins.
Yeah, he's only guaranteed, I believe, like $200,000 on his $2.9 million deal. So there's no real guarantee that he even makes the roster, but I would still believe he has a good chance since they don't have a whole lot of guys that can play the 4 or the 5. And I don't think you would want to have Watford play the 5, but I mean, at least it gives yourself some height because you already got a bunch of wings and guards. So try and at least somewhat even out the lineup.
Yeah, I think it potentially gives them another option, primarily at the 4, perhaps at the 5, because depending on how Jamal Mosley employs Zion Williamson, he could be a factor in the interior as a 4 or a 5, as could some other guys. So, there's some versatility there at a position that doesn't have a lot of depth at this point. So I think for what it is, which is bringing in a guy who might be a decent piece in the rotation, it's a fine move because of the lack of a major financial commitment. But again, I don't think it really moves the needle.
Les, we appreciate you coming on. Keep up the tremendous work you're doing over there covering the Saints and the Pelicans, and we'll get you back on next week, all right?
Okay, thanks.
We're going to go ahead and take a timeout. When we come back, wrap up this edition of RP3 Mesh. Get you ready for the Lowdown with D'Lo. That's next.
This is RP3 and Mesh live on ESPN 1037 Lafayette and 1041 Lake Charles, Southwest Louisiana's sports station. Delta Media is your home for Friday Night Football. STM on ESPN 1037, North Vermilion on 1063 Lafayette, Catholic High of New Iberia on Mustang 1071 FM, St. Landry Parish Game of the Week on Z1059, LRCA on News Talk 98.5 FM, and Barb on ESPN 1041. Listen to the games on the radio or on each station's free mobile app. Delta Media has you covered for thrilling Friday Night Football.
Did you know you can get great tasting Clear Springs artesian water delivered to your office or your doorstep at home? Clear Springs is 100% local with their own bottling facility at the world-famous Kentwood Aquifer, no chemicals added. Just pure Kentwood, Louisiana artesian water. Clear Springs Water offers delivery of 5 or 3 gallon water service with a hot and cold temperature water cooler or even single-serve bottles delivered to your home or office. Easy to reach, clearsprings.net, then contact us tab or 337-519-3563.
Looking for a great midweek treat? Come to Mezcal Mexican Restaurant every Wednesday and Thursday and enjoy their sizzling fajita special. $13.99 plus tax all day long. Don't forget all day 2-for-1 margaritas. Are you planning a large party? Let Mezcal handle it. Call 337-484-3298 and Mezcal will take care of everything. That's a fajita special, $13.99 plus tax all day Wednesday and Thursday at Mezcal Mexican Restaurant, 3546 Ambassador Caffrey, next to Rooms to Go. Come taste the flavor of Mezcal.
Are you looking for an eye expert? Well, visit Acadiana Optics in Broussard, locally owned, founded, and operated by Broussard native Dr. Lindsay Dugas. From comprehensive eye exams for glasses and contacts to diabetic exams, pediatric eye care, emergency eye care, cataract and LASIK evaluations, Acadiana Optics provides family eye care for all vision needs. Enjoy state-of-the-art technology, designer frame selections, prescription Maui Jim sunglasses, and custom glasses and contacts. Acadiana Optics in Broussard. Call today to schedule your appointment.
One afternoon, one ticket, and 1,000 of your closest friends. Golf Brew returns to downtown Lafayette Saturday, September 19th from 3 until 7 p.m. Explore over 200 craft beer selections. Enjoy live music, delicious food, local vendors, and discover everything downtown has to offer. There's even family fun with the Little Brewers area and a designated driver experience for everyone to enjoy safely. Tickets are on sale now at downtownlafayette.org. Come for Golf Brew, stay for downtown.
Attention first responders, police officers, firefighters, military and former military personnel. If you have an acre or more of grass to cut, Skag Zero-Turn Mowers would like to thank you by offering you a special discount with their Simply the Brave First Responders program. Save big money on the industry's top-rated zero-turn mower at Nolan's Lawnmower in Carencro. Nolan's can offer well-qualified buyers 0% financing for 48 months. Come by Nolan's Lawnmower at 3547 Northwest Evangeline Thruway and check out the full line of Skag zero-turn lawnmowers.
You're listening to the 2026 LAB Award winner for Best Live On-Site Remote Super Bowl Radio Row coverage and Best Promotion for our No Shave November initiative. Here on 103.7 Lafayette and 104.1 Lake Charles, Southwest Louisiana's sports station.
Wrapping up this Thursday edition of RP3 and Meche, and we'll do so by thanking both of our amazing guests. Both of them came in the second hour. We had on our guy, Avery Huffman, talking fantasy football from Dynasty Domain. Going to get him on again before the season. Talk a little bit more. I had a lot more questions. It's just we ran out of time. But he was great. Had him on for 2 segments, and we just wrapped up our conversation talking Saints and Pelicans with Les East of Crescent City Sports. I want to thank both of them for coming on. I want to thank everybody for tuning in, especially on the live stream. A lot of Avery's guys over there with Dynasty Domain and the fans over there, they checked us out. Appreciate everybody that came in for that and stayed for the live stream for the show. Do want to give you an update on the poll question of the day, because we had asked you on Facebook and on X, with all the injuries that the Saints are starting to pile up, especially at really notable positions and notable players, guys like Alvin Kamara, like Jordan Tyson, Brian Bresee, and others, which injury so far has hurt the most to you? Jordan Tyson and Brian Bresee both have 40% of the votes. 12% have gone Alvin Kamara, and then 8% have said other. I had gotten to the X comments, so let's quickly go to the Facebook comments. Michael says Bresee is the number one for him. Kamara is the one that hurts the second most. He literally just commented that like a minute ago. So that got updated. Edwards going with Bresee. Same thing with Nolan. Also, Kevin. All three of those guys on Facebook are saying Brian Bresee. Tony is going with Jordan Tyson. Joey also says Bresee. He says Kamara is older and is a split-time back. Tyson was a gamble, and we and the coaches knew he was 50-50 for playing time. We are thin on the D-line. Brody says other. Kevin Foot's hard if the Saints keep getting injured. Fair. Adam says Tyson so far. Robert says Tyson for sure. And then BJ says, can't say. Tyson, because we heard about that being a huge concern as soon as he was picked up. Kamara is the number 2 technically and will be fresher later on, and that's okay. Bresee is probably the most impactful difference. He was concerned about Cam's injury till he had seen him doing all that jumping around on the sideline last game with the laughing emoji. Who dat for life. Fair enough. We did also get an extension for the Cleveland Cavaliers. We had already brought up the blockbuster trade that featured 5 teams, but the most notable player was Max Strus in that trade in an unprotected first-round pick. Other than that, you had a couple of young guys, you had some journeymen, and you had some other picks and a lot of cash. But with that being the case, since they moved off of Strus, that gave them more flexibility, the Cavs did, to give Harden a 3-year extension worth $96, $97 million. Really? It's just hilarious. Cavs doing Cavs things. Good on them. Good on them. That's going to do it for this edition of RP3 and Mesh. We'll be back tomorrow from 11 to 1. But up next, The Lowdown with D-Lo.
Do you know how many tax resolution firms have been forced to close because they were taking advantage of people or have gone out of business? It happens all the time. Hi, this is Kerry Bryson with the Bryson Law Firm. As a matter of fact, there are national tax relief companies that are currently under court orders to cease operations. So if you have IRS issues, do not fall for the threats and scare tactics of the national so-called tax relief companies. The Bryson Law Firm has been doing this for decades. We have a AAA BBB rating, and our entire focus is IRS problems and tax liability issues. An IRS problem is a legal problem. Let the Bryson Law Firm help you get relief the right way. So if you owe back taxes or haven't filed returns in years, it's time to call the Bryson Law Firm and finally resolve your tax issues. Don't put it off any longer. Call the Bryson Law Firm. Our headquarters are in Lafayette, and we have offices statewide. Or visit BrysonLawFirm.com to schedule your free consultation with your local tax resolution law firm. The Bryson Law Firm. LSB filing number LA2519684.
It's a great time to get out on the water, and Black's has you covered. Black's Outdoor Marine is Acadiana's Tohatsu Outboard and Low Boats headquarters. Tohatsu outboards are reliable, affordable, and backed by a 5-year warranty. Black's has low-interest financing and can handle your outboard or mud motor repair. Stop by 1423 Northwest Evangeline Thruway in Lafayette or call 337-233-4272. That's 337-233-4272. Black's Outdoor Marine, serving Acadiana since 1968.
Hear that? That's Alka-Seltzer, the sound of fast heartburn relief. Because when heartburn hits, you want something that works fast. Quick! Alka-Seltzer. Alka-Seltzer effervescent tablets start neutralizing stomach acid in seconds, so nothing works faster for heartburn relief. Next time, when that burning feeling comes on strong, don't wait. Quick! Alka-Seltzer. Try Alka-Seltzer. Use as directed.
Live from Upper Lafayette, this is ESPN